If you are single and you are seeking someone, number one, stop looking, focus on yourself, let God bring you that person. Focus on who you are, get to know yourself inside out. The most difficult thing is to realize who you are in the midst of a relationship. You can't live your life based on someone else's needs and desires all the time. Because
Mm.
at the end of the day, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you are always going to be that woman. You're always going to be that man. You're going to be you. You are still an individual, even in the midst of a relationship.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Woman Witness podcast on the Woman Witness TV network. I'm your host, Leah Fortier. Here on this platform, we bring to you voices of women that are out there making a positive impact in their lives, in the community, in the world around them. Women who are on their journey of faith, women who have shown resiliency, and they came out on the other side and they are ready and willing to go back and grab the hand of another sister. I'm so excited to bring to you today my guest, Dr. Maryann Rivera. And she's going to take us through a journey of faith, through a journey where she has overcame difficulties and adversities in her life and in her childhood life as well, where she has overcame a lot of situations such as sexual trauma, domestic violence, and navigating her juvenile delinquency. She's going to share with us how she was able to be resilient and overcome these adversities in her life. I am so excited and so pleased to introduce to you today, Dr. Maryann Rivera. Welcome to the well. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for being transparent and being vulnerable and bringing your story to the well. I believe that's what it's all about. It's all about when we make it to the other side and we have our encounter with Christ and we are willing to go back and let another sister know that, you know what, I didn't just wake up and end up here. There was a journey. And you have built a ministry and you have built a career where you've built a platform to give women their voices back. So let me just start by stop talking and give you back the floor and ask that you just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and how you came to your ministry.
Yeah, so my name again is Maryann Rivera-Dannert, and I am currently residing in upstate New York. So it's a little chilly right now. So, talking about adversities and things that I've overcome, like you stated, anything from sexual abuse at a very young age to, not dealing with that, keeping it holding on to that because as predators will say it's our secret, people won't believe you, don't tell anyone, it's our secret and things like that. I kind of blocked it off, with which led to dealing with abandonment issues, feeling of rejection,
Mm-hmm.
becoming a teenager, being very promiscuous, ending up in the juvenile delinquent system, dealing with toxic and unhealthy relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and so much more. And everything that I do is ultimately to help heal and nurture little Maryann, my little girl.
Mm. Hold on, that's great. I'm glad you said that. You just brought it right to the center focus of your ministry and what it is. And that's when you talk to that little girl and don't overlook those things that has happened to her and taking care of her because it's a cycle and it continues to pile in. Let me don't get ahead of you. Sorry. Talk to us about what was there a specific turning point in your life that led to the work that you're doing today? What was that light that went off that said, you know what, Maryann, something's got to change?
I would have to say the change started when I got pregnant with my oldest son. I was 18 years old, and it was like, okay, I just had recently gotten out of juvie, And my worker, my social worker, probation officer, I can't remember what her title was, said to me, "You're about to be 18 years old." I was 17 when I got out. She said, "If you continue down this path, you're going to end up either in jail or dead." And it was like, that seems kind of harsh. I'm not really doing anything. All I'm doing is just running away from home, not going to school. And I ended up getting my GED, General Equivalency Diploma, when I was in juvie because I knew going back to city schools was not going to be an option for me because I wasn't going to go. So, fast forward a little bit, I got released from that detention center. I was 17 and a half. I connected with a boy that I had met when I was on the run from one of my running away stints, and we formed a relationship, got pregnant, and it was kind of like, oh, I now have someone that's going to love me and need me unconditionally. There's not going to be anything in this world that's going to stop us from conquering everything that we want to do and everything that we want to achieve. So that pregnancy kind of like shifted things.
Mhm.
And I wish I could say that everything after that was,
Beautiful.
roses and rainbows, but it was not
Yes.
because life still happens. And even
Mhm.
though we say things with our voices, until the shift happens mentally and emotionally, things are not going to change. They just stay the same. So
Yeah,
although I was hoping like, okay, things are going to be different, I think I just said that because, I was excited, have a
yeah.
baby coming and things like that. That boy turned out to be a nightmare. It was a very unhealthy relationship. It was my not really first, but the first experience of physical domestic violence. Uh,
Mm.
even though
At
I was
such a
pregnant.
young age.
Yes, yes.
Mm,
And I was pregnant and we were fighting like two guys in the street. It
mm,
wasn't arguing, it was like physical. And it was like, I don't want to raise my child this way. But, as abusers sometimes do, I'm sorry it won't happen again. But then
yeah.
it does happen again. And it
Mm,
got to the point that I ended up having my son. I'm like, I can't raise this child in this environment. So I left that relationship, immediately jumped into a new one.
mm,
And he was a great guy. However, he had issues with drugs and alcohol, mostly
mm,
drugs. And it was kind of like, okay, so I left one relationship that was horrible to another relationship that was horrible.
mhm,
That relationship lasted several months,
mm.
left that relationship, jumped into another relationship. And if you start noticing the cycle, used to go from one relationship to the next since the age
Mhm,
of 14 when I started having boyfriends, even
mhm.
though I noticed the red flags, but I ignored them. They were
Yeah,
pink.
sure. Yeah.
And I obviously later on realized that what I was dealing with was
Mm.
fearing being by myself, abandonment issues, neglect. I didn't want to be by myself. So it was just a cycle of one relationship into another one.
Mm. Talk to me about that right there, Dr. Marianne, because I feel like you just said something that e a lot of us can relate to, and I do believe that it starts from our childhood. Me having a childhood of every abuse that you can think of, right? And it's something that we feel that maybe perhaps we're not good enough, or we have to perform, or we have to have this level of security. Can you talk to me about that? Do you feel like maybe that played into not really being able to understand what happened to little Marianne?
Oh, definitely. Going back, when my parents were married, my mother and my biological father, they divorced. Actually, no, first they separated. So my father was gone. And I noticed he was gone, but it didn't really like resonate because he was still coming over on the weekends to pick me up and I will go with him. My mom ended up meeting my stepfather, and I want to say I can't remember the time frame. I was young, but there was a short time when they actually left me with my grandmother for about 6 months or so. They went from Puerto Rico to Florida to work on the farms. So it
Mhm.
wasn't for anything horrible. It was, to make a living and things like that.
Yeah,
But when you're 5, 6 years old, you don't understand. You just know
right.
that my parents are there one moment and then the next moment is gone. They're gone. And it was like first my dad left and now my mom and stepfather left. What is wrong with me? What am I doing? So people pleasing was a major factor in my life, making sure, attachment issues, attaching myself to individuals, people, places, and things because they showed me that love and that acceptance that I so long yearned and desired for. And when I was in that one relationship with the guy that was involved with, drugs, left him, jumped into another relationship, ended up marrying him, lasted about 4 or 5 years, left that relationship, and it just went on and on. And I think for me, the turning point was when my youngest child, who is 22, when her dad says something to me, and that kind of triggered something in me like, okay, there has to be something better. And for those that might be listening and wondering, why didn't she stay with her father? We were, I was celebrating from the divorce and things happened and it wasn't really a relationship. We were friends
Yeah.
and came out the child 9 months later. And so, we co-parented, till this day we're still friends. But he said something to me that was kind of like, yeah, I deserve better. I need to be doing better. So I was in a very unhealthy, toxic, narcissistic relationship. And at that point, I said to myself, okay, enough is enough. I now, at that point, had 3 children. And it was like, I need to find out who Maryann is. I need to spend time with Maryann, get to figure out what I like, what I don't like, what my dreams are, what my desires are, and start pursuing that. God, I don't want to meet another man. You are going to introduce me to him. I'm not going to be looking. And again, we say things, but behaviors really don't change. But behaviors really don't change. So I, left that relationship. And of course, because I wasn't seeking therapy or, counseling or guidance or anything. So I was still lonely and I craved like that companionship because we're not born to be by ourselves and things like that. So I ended up meeting someone on MySpace, if you remember MySpace. And I still remember, my profile said, not looking for a relationship, just looking to be wine and dined. And my now husband was one of the 4 gentlemen that I was talking to. He was the first one that asked me out on a
Mm,
date. And I
mhm.
said, okay.
Yeah.
16 years
Yeah.
later, we're still together. We're thriving.
Amazing.
We're doing great. There's been some bumps on the road,
Sure. Yeah.
but 16 years later, everything that I have overcome, everything that I have been through in life has led to who I am today and helping women, by different avenues, whether it's my books or magazine or my podcast or being a speaker, helping women discover their power and live in, their purpose.
Yes. Okay, well, congratulations. That's exciting. And I but you know what? Can I talk to you about the journey that you took us on, Marianne? You broke it down to us so we can find ourselves in your story and find ourselves in every part of it. That was me. Yep, that's me. Yeah. And what you do is you bring it full circle to let us know that you can find your way out. And I just love one thing, if you don't mind, I say that you said there was one word, that turning point where your daughter's father came and said something to you. And I love how God will send you a word, one word that will change your life. And it doesn't matter who it comes from. Would you have ever thought in a million years that it would come from him? That God will send a message from, somebody who you could have closed the door on. But I love how God
Yes.
works, and I love that you gave us that whole experience. Now, can you talk to us about how do you approach women now in your practice, like you said, through your books or through your magazine? How do you approach women and taking that first step towards working on the woman that they want to be?
Definitely. So I think the first step is just being able to identify what it is that's missing from your life. What is it that, you wake up one day and you're like, I don't recognize myself anymore. Who am I? I don't know what my dreams are, what my desires are. So I think it's just being very gentle with yourself because, life didn't just, didn't wake up and it was like bam, you know, things you're stuck in a situation. It was a process. You got
Mm.
there because of years of, trauma and adversities and obstacles and things like that. So I think just being gentle with yourself. I work with individuals who, again, don't recognize themselves. They know that there's much more to life, but they question, are they good enough? Am I worthy enough? If they only knew what I have gone through, would they still believe in me? And I come from a place of I have been there, I
Mm.
have done the work, and it's not a proud here I am type of thing, but it's a here I am. I have overcome. Let's walk on this journey together.
Yeah, I came out on the other side of it. And, can I just take a moment to sit there real quick for um, some of us who have overcame that adversity and that trauma and, kind of get stuck in the fact that we feel that we have to perform, right?
Right.
Have to perform. We have to people please. We have to do this in order to achieve the lifestyle that we want, right? Or achieve to be the person that we feel that we're supposed to be. At what point? I know you said when your child's father came and said that to you, but at what point did you start leaning in on God and God beginning to reveal who you are? Did that happen? Talk to me about that moment.
Oh, definitely. So it was a transition. I left the relationship, got my own place. Shortly after, I met my husband. We met January of 2008, got engaged in April, and then married in August of 2008. So it was very fast. And people sometimes are like, first of all, you met on MySpace and you got married that fast? Yes, because one, we both had actually been married in the past. And, for me, it was like a year and a half with my first husband. And then we got engaged and we got married.
Yeah.
And I didn't really know him. The
Mhm.
marriage only lasted 4 years and things
Mhm.
like that. So it was like, I've always been very honest and open, an open book when it comes
Mhm.
to my husband. There's nothing that somebody can go to him and say, did you know that Marianne? Because he will just look at them like, yeah, I
Why
know.
not? Right.
And because it was kind of like I got to a point in life that it was like, okay, enough is enough. I am going to start focusing on me. And I will say two things. One, that if you are single and you are seeking someone, number one, stop looking, focus on yourself, let God bring you that person. Focus on who you are, get to know yourself inside out.
Mm,
Because number two, the worst thing that can possibly happen, not worse as in horrible, but the
mhm.
most difficult thing is to realize who you are in the midst of a relationship.
Ooh, talk
So
to us about
for
that,
me,
please.
yes. So, when I left that previous relationship and, my husband and I decided to, we decided to start dating and get serious, it was like, okay, this is how it's going to be. A, B, C,
Mm,
D. There's no negotiating. If you don't like it, there's the door.
yeah.
We don't have to proceed. I'm okay with
Mm,
that because I was no longer willing to negotiate. I was not willing to, you know, make adjustments or anything. It is what it is. Again, because I was still dealing with a lot of that hurt from the past.
yeah,
I was starting in the healing process, but I wasn't quite there yet because now it was like tough and rough, and this is how it's
yeah,
going to be. I'm
yeah.
not playing games. And
Mm-mm.
fast forward years later, right before we started, I had mentioned that I used to live in Florida. We
Yeah.
ended up moving to Texas,
Uh,
and this was 2021. So not that long ago, 3 years
mhm,
ago.
mhm,
And life happened, and we made the decision he was going to move back to Rochester, my husband. And I
mhm.
was like, well, you can go, but I'm not going. And he was like, what do you mean you're not going? I was like,
Yeah.
I love my job.
Mhm.
I am enjoying, the kids are gone. It's just us right
Mm.
now. So being an empty nester, you
Mm.
can go ahead and go. And when I'm ready, I'll go back. Or you can just come back here.
Mm.
Because for me, it was the first time ever that I was living by myself. It
Mm.
was, like I had mentioned, relationship after relationship, and then kids, and then relationship after relationship, and then another child, and then another child. So there was
Yeah.
always someone sharing my space with me. And I was
Mm.
like, I want to experience what it would be like to just go to bed by myself, wake up by myself. If I
Mm.
leave a dish somewhere, I know that it was me that left it there. I know that when I can come, when I can go, and I'm not, being responsible or being accountable
Mm.
for anyone. I just want to experience what that is going to be like. And it
Mm.
was the most liberating 6 months of my life.
Int
And my husband and I, we still had dates. We
Yeah.
would pick a restaurant. He would pick his
Yeah.
restaurant. I would pick my restaurant. We would just FaceTime and we're
Yeah.
sharing dinner and
Uh,
things like that. And he will visit me. I will visit home, come and
yeah.
visit him. But I was living by myself. And when I tell you that it was the most amazing time of my life, and I say
Ah.
that because, again, I realized who I was. I realized what I
Mm.
like, what I didn't like, and
Yeah.
things like that. And that was something that I had never allowed myself
Yeah.
to experience. So if you are someone that is single, please take your time to just prioritize yourself, your mental, physical, emotional, financial, everything well-being before you get into a relationship.
You are so right about that.
Mhm.
You know what? I was just talking to a girlfriend about this the other day. I was just talking about, sometimes when we go from relationship to relationship or we get into a relationship really young, I think sometimes now looking back, I was very young when I got married, and I think back and I'm like, you know what? Some of these things now, if I wouldn't compromise on certain things, things that I
Yeah.
compromised on before because I didn't know myself.
Right.
I didn't know that, there are certain things I'm not going to do or certain things that, so I always say now, I hear you 100%, Dr. Marianne, because it is so important that we figure out who we are. Let me ask you, for those of us who got married young, right? And you are
Mhm.
still evolving or you begin to evolve, and how important is it to take that time and say, you know what, let me take a week to myself? You take
Yes.
let me The kids gonna be okay, you're gonna be okay. How important is it to do it sooner than later?
I think it's crucial. It's extremely important. And the thing about it is, sometimes, especially because, my husband has had conversations with his buddies at work and things like that, and
Mhm.
they're like, "Oh, you let your wife do this and you
Yeah.
let your," and he's like, "Well, first of all, she's a grown woman. I'm not letting her do anything. She does what she
Yeah.
wants."
Mhm.
And number 2, when she goes away on her vacations and her trips and things like that,
Mhm.
I get the house to myself. So we're both on vacation. So it's a
Yeah.
win-win for both. And
Yeah.
I will say that communication is key. Communication is
Mhm.
extremely important. I
Mhm.
am super blessed that when God brought him into my life, my husband, that he brought somebody that will be able to deal and handle with who I was becoming.
Ooh.
Because who I am today is not who I was 16 years ago, but my husband is very, confident, very
Yeah.
secure,
Yeah.
and he's okay with me talking about when I was sexually abused when I was young,
Yeah.
previous relationships, because he's like, why wouldn't I be okay? That's who you are. All those
Yeah.
experiences, good, bad, or indifferent, have made you who you are today, who made you who you were 16 years ago when I met you and fell in love with you. So I think
Mm.
it's very important. So start with having that conversation. Communication is very open, very key. So be honest and transparent and create a plan. You don't have to immediately go away for a week. You
Yeah.
can start local. Just rent a hotel down the street,
Yes.
and things like that. Start
Mhm.
small, baby steps, and
Mhm.
talk about what you're looking for
Mhm.
to accomplish, during this time away. Because again, he's going to be home by himself. You're going to be at the hotel or vice versa.
Yeah.
Because I've rented a hotel for my husband in the past, packed
Mhm.
up his stuff and said, I will see you on Sunday and things like that.
Yes.
So it's yes, so it's kinda
It's
like it
sweet.
goes both ways and things like that.
Mhm, mhm,
So I think it's very important, again, because we were made, in my opinion, we were created and made for companionship, but at the same time, you can't live your life based on someone else's needs and desires all the time. Because
mm,
at the end of the day, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you are always going to be that woman, you're always going to be that
mm.
man, you're going to be you. You are still an individual, even in the midst of a relationship.
That is so true. I heard a pastor say a while ago. He said, when you get married, you most of us think you take one half and one half and you make it a whole, but I don't believe that's true. I believe that you have to be whole. He has to be whole, and you come together. And
Yes,
sometimes, as you said, can I just say this, Dr. Marianne? You said something. You said God will send you the person that can handle you becoming. And I think it has
yeah,
to be vice versa as well, because we should always be evolving, but to make ourselves whole and then come together
correct.
as one. And I love that so much. I love what you said, because sometimes, like you said, we neglect pieces of ourselves,
Right,
and
correct.
that's not good for anybody. It's good to heal that young version of you, that person, that little person in you that's still crying out for an apology, or crying out for that attention. And it's so good to take time to heal that piece of you to make you whole.
Right,
Okay, sorry, I get excited. I
absolutely.
love that. Okay. Can you describe some of the techniques and strategies that you use to help women when you are helping them unlock their fullest potential?
So when you work with me, you are definitely going to be doing a lot of work. So there's
Mm,
homework. I'm a great listener, so I would just sit there and I would just listen to everything that they're pouring out, and we narrow it down to like 2 to 3 things that we're going to be focusing on and working on. So
mhm.
some of the strategies is, again, just talking. Sometimes it could be an entire session of just talking, because sometimes we hold so many things in, and I love to create a safe space for that woman. There's no judgment. You come as raw and as open as you need to be. And there's a lot of assignments that help you dig deeper into yourself. So it's kind of like, looking at an onion and just slowly peeling back those layers. And I love, one of my favorite exercises that I love to do is just writing out your perfect day, understanding that there's no such thing as perfect. However, in this situation, there is. You wake up, money's not an object, location is not an object, whether you're married, single, it does not matter. You
Mhm,
are in full control of that day. From the moment you open up your eyes and
mhm,
start your day to the
mhm,
moment that you lay your head down on that pillow and
mhm,
your body just sinks into that bed, what are you doing? What
mhm,
are you doing? Where are you? Who are you with? What do you smell? What do you feel? What do you taste? What do you see? What are you experiencing? Just be as explicit as
mhm,
possible. So it's your perfect day. And then we pause and we look at, where are you today? And where are the gaps? And we slowly
mhm.
start working on those things.
What's prohibiting you from having that perfect day now? Hold on, I'm such a
Correct.
storyteller, and I could tell you are as well. And I need to get your books already, because you just walked me through. Look, I was on an island somewhere just a minute ago. I was like, wait, how did I get here? Let me come back. Jesus, help me. You just brought me, man, how important
Yeah.
is that? And you are right. Whoa. I
Yeah.
don't think I do that often. You remember back when you were in school, right? They used to tell you, stop daydreaming, pay attention.
Yes. The
Well,
worst
why?
thing, the worst advice ever.
It's the worst advice ever. Because then we really hold on to that, but we should dream. We
Yes.
should hold on to some of those dreams and those visions that God put in our hearts. Okay. What are some of the common mental and emotional barriers that you see that women are facing when they're trying to rebuild their lives after such traumatic experiences?
Number one, feeling that they're not good enough,
Yeah.
that they're broken, that no one is going to love them, no one is going to care for them, They're
Mm,
not good enough. They know that there's something bigger and more, but they just don't know how to move forward. And I think
mm,
that one of the, questions is what's going to what's going to hurt you more in the long term? Just being brave and taking that one step. That's all you have to do, just one step forward.
mm,
Or looking back in your life a year from now, 5 years from now, and seeing that you've wasted all this time and nothing has changed.
mm,
What's going to hurt you more? So it's like, women, we tend to, not just women, in general, humanity, we tend to fear what we don't know, what we can't see.
mm,
And
mhm,
that's where the fear comes from. So it's like, fearing the unknown because you don't know what's going to happen. But what if you just took a chance?
mm,
Take a chance on you. Your future you deserves for you to take that chance.
mm,
The smaller you, the little you deserves to be healed, to be brave, to be confident, and to be living life on her terms. So let's just do it slowly. And we start very small, whether it's sometimes I've encountered a lot of women that don't like to eat by
mm,
themselves, to go out by themselves. So it's like,
mhm,
okay, well, let's start small. Go out at lunchtime
mhm,
and you can sit at the bar. There's always people at the bar. The
mm,
bartender will be talking to you. There's people by themselves there. So it's
mhm.
safe. No one is going to be paying you attention.
Yeah.
And then do that a few times until you start building confidence because confidence is just like a muscle, like your biceps, whatever muscle in your body that you're trying to firm up and make it stronger, that's what confidence is. The
Mhm,
more you do something, the more confidence you're going to get. So let's start there. And then you're going to ask for a table for one. Sit at the back, all the way in the back by yourself. Take a book with you, take your phone, because again, you're entertaining yourself. No one is paying attention to you. And then again, just slow steps, slow steps. One of my favorite things is to go out by myself,
yeah,
is to go out to dinner. I'm not worried about anybody rushing me to make a this, to pay, to make a decision what we're going to eat,
yeah,
splitting the bill. I'm just going to go and do what I have to do. So,
yeah. Oh,
baby
that's
steps.
good. Oh, that's good. Oh, Marianne, I tell you, I encourage every woman who is listening to this, right? If you are a man listening to this, I encourage you to do that. I do. Marianne, Dr. Marianne, it took me a long time to go out to a restaurant by myself. Don't ask me why. I would rather, what I ended up doing is just going through, like, even when I was working at the bank, instead of going into, and I think this is great for working women as well, you're outside the house, think about it. How often do you go and eat by yourself? You go on your lunch break and you're like, I'll just go to the drive thru because I'm not going to go in there and eat by myself.
Right.
Well, why not?
Yeah.
I used to do it all. I would go through the drive through all by myself because I didn't want to I didn't want to interact with people and I didn't want to sit by myself.
Mhm.
Doesn't that sound crazy?
Yeah.
But you can do both. You don't have to interact with people and you
Right.
can still go and sit by yourself.
Yes. Yes. And when you're reading a book, no one is going to bother you.
Yeah.
If you're on your phone and things like that, just avoid eye contact. And if somebody does say hi to you, just say hello back.
You never
Nothing is
know.
the earth is not going to, shatter and fall apart because someone spoke to you. So you will be okay. You'll be okay.
uh, Okay, ladies, if you're listening to this and you have done it, or you are taking the challenge to go out and eat lunch, have a dinner, have a small coffee by yourself, if you're willing to take on that challenge, leave it in the comments below and shoot a message to Dr. Marianne and let us know how that went. I think it's going to be very liberating. Thank you for sharing that. That was good.
Yeah.
That was real
Yeah.
good. I'm sorry. Go get yourself some sushi. Okay, snap a picture of you by yourself.
Yes,
Do
do
it.
that. Email it to me and I will send you a free book.
Ooh, for real? Can I do
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Yes. All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
Yes, the
So,
first 3 people that do it. The first 3 people that do it, text email me a picture. My email is Maryann at MaryannRivera-Dannert.com. Let me know your thoughts and I will email you. I will mail you a book, autograph book.
oh, come on, Dr. Marion. That is such a
Yes.
treat. Wow, thank you for doing that. That is
Yes, you're
exciting.
welcome.
Okay. Oh, I'm gonna be the first one. Okay, sorry. In your experience, what are some of the key characteristics to and skills that will well, we already talked about that. Let's just say that. But let's add on something. If women aren't ready or if they're afraid to take that first step, what is something else that they can do just small?
Yeah, so I will say, you know, think about, ask yourself what is it about the experience that you are afraid of?
Mm,
Start there. You don't have to leave the house. You could just grab your journal and ask yourself that question. Why is it that I'm afraid to go out by myself to do X, Y, and Z?
mm,
What is it about the experience? What is it about the event? Whatever whatever the thing is, why is it that you're afraid? Close your eyes, listen to some soft music, turn on a candle or some incense, and
mm,
just let your body listen to your body, see how your body feels, and then just journal. Just write it all out. You don't
mm,
have to read it back. Just let the words pour out, put it aside, and then go back to it and read it. See what comes up for you,
yeah,
because there's something deeper that's holding you back.
mhm,
And again, it's so freeing. And that's the thing that I want women worldwide to live a free, fearless, and fabulous life. And it is so beautiful when you're able to do that. You know, do you go out to get your nails done by yourself?
mm,
That
mhm,
it's a great, we all
mhm,
like to get our nails done and our feet done. You can do
mhm,
that by yourself. Go
mhm.
for a walk. Just start baby steps. You don't have to get a passport and travel across the country, even though that's amazing too.
That is.
But again, start small, and the thing about it is that when it comes to fear, and my belief is that fear stands for feeling empty, abandoned, and rejected. There is something
Mm,
triggering for you,
mm,
that that you feel that this situation is going to make you feel empty, abandoned, and rejected. And that's why, for me, I held on to a lot of things in life and did a lot of things because I was feeling empty, abandoned, and rejected. But on the
mm,
other side of that fear, on the other side of that emptiness and that abandonment and that rejection, it's freedom. And you are more than worthy of having that freedom, and you are deserving of that. So just start small.
mm. That's good. Dr. Marion, this is going off my notes a little bit, but I want to ask you for those women, let's just say women right now, for those women who may be in a situation, maybe a partnership or a business, and maybe they've been on this job for so long and they know that it's not gonna work. They know that you know what, I'm not happy, I don't see an end, but they want to wait till that feeling is mutual, right? How often or how often in when you're coaching these women do you feel that we are waiting on that okay in order to leave a situation or leave a partnership, leave a school? If you have your children in a certain school, are you waiting on like something drastic to happen in order to walk away from a situation that you know is not good for you? And how have you been able to coach them through that?
Yeah, definitely. So I think I see that more often than not,
Yeah.
because again, there's some security in the current situation. We
Hmm.
tend to stay at a job. For
Hmm.
example, if you're at a job that no longer serves you and you desire to open up a business, and I will
Hmm.
be very transparent. This is something that I was struggling with until someone said something to me recently. Use your job to
Hmm.
fuel your passion, to fuel your dream. You're not
Hmm.
going to wake up tomorrow and say, okay, here's my 2 weeks notice, I'm out. No, you're not going to do that. You're going to start working your side gig, your side hustle, and letting your full time job continue to pay you,
Mm,
continue to provide you benefits and that security, because there is security in that. And being a full time entrepreneur, a business person, is very hard because sometimes, those invoices are not being paid, like they're supposed to, and things like that. You
yeah,
don't know where your next paycheck is going to come from.
yeah.
But again, you deserve happiness. You deserve freedom. You deserve to live life on your terms. So start small. Start making a plan. Give yourself a deadline. Like, okay, in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, these are the small things that I'm going to accomplish, and
Mm,
let those little steps feed into the bigger picture, your 1, 3, 5 year goal. If you are in a relationship,
mhm,
to me, again, it's all about communication and having a conversation. My
mhm,
husband and I, we do check-ins every 3 to 6 months,
mhm.
because, like I have mentioned when, several minutes ago,
Right.
we met January, engaged in April, got married in August. So we're still learning about each other and things like that. And yes, we've been together for 16 years.
Mhm,
But I told him, like, okay, there's an agreement between us that if we ever wake up one day and it's like, this is no longer working for me, we're going to sit down like two mature adults, and we're
mhm,
going to have that conversation. We're going to
mm,
have that conversation, decide, can it be fixed? Is it something that we can work on,
mm.
or are we done? And so I think that, sometimes we fear what we don't know.
Yeah.
If you are in a toxic and unhealthy relationship, before you do anything, your priority is to ensure that you are safe, especially if there are children around. Make sure that
Mm,
you are safe. So
mhm,
having a safety plan is extremely important. Find someone that you can trust, whether it's an agency or a trusted friend or something like that, or a coach. Find someone that you can trust and confide in to start building that safety plan, because your safety matters. And
mm,
oftentimes I hear women say things like, I can't leave because the house is in my name and my credit this and my credit. First of
mm,
all, it's
mm,
a house.
mm,
Yes, your credit is important, but your credit can be rebuilt. You
mm,
can purchase another house.
mm,
You can get money and material things. There's only one you. You only have one life.
mm,
So don't hold on to the material things, because material things can be replaced.
mm,
And sometimes I also hear, well, I have children. What are I was raised in a single parent household. I don't want my kids to go through that.
mm,
Ma'am, sir,
mm.
your kids are not blind. Your kids see what's going on. Your kids see what's going on, and you're
Mhm,
teaching your son, you're teaching your daughter, it's okay to be mistreated, it's
mm,
okay to be hit on, it's
mm,
okay to this is what love looks like, is ultimately what you're teaching your child, boy
mm,
or girl. And no,
mm,
you all deserve better. So prioritize, make sure you are safe,
mm.
and start building a plan to be able to leave that situation that you're in.
Oh, that's all good. Oh, that is all good. I don't know why I just kept hearing you say, it reminds me of, if you go back to even the biblical story of like Moses, when the children were leaving Egypt, right? And when they finally did leave, right? They left with jewels and all the riches and all the gold from the Egyptians. And I say this to say that sometimes that when you are in a situation and you are afraid to leave, just maybe perhaps on the other side of that is freedom, a land of milk and honey. And what did you say, Dr. Maryann, when you start working now for what you are going to, you're going to be better
Yes,
equipped. You're going to know how to get it done. You're already building a foundation to what is next. I hope I said that
correct.
correctly, but that's
Yes,
kind
yes,
of how I
yes.
was hearing you say that. And man, you are so right. Anyone who's listening, it's so important. And I didn't think about that, Dr. Maryann, until you said that your safety is huge, and not
Yes,
just jumping out and making a decision without a plan. Okay, you got to get in touch
correct.
with Dr. Maryann to talk to you about that. Um, I want you to tell us before I let you go. Goodness gracious, wait, I didn't even get through half of what I wanted to talk about. I want to ask you, um, how do you measure the success with your clients? What does unlocking your potential look like? How do we determine what that looks like in each woman or each client, if you will?
Yep. So I always go back to our original conversation. What were the things that you came to me for?
Mm,
You were stuck, you were in an unhealthy relationship, you weren't achieving your goals, you were stuck in a dead end job. What was it that brought you to me? And we
mm,
are constantly reflecting back. We're always, measuring and going back to that. So where are you today? And we do 30-day check-in, 60-day check-in, depending on, the length of the program that they have signed up for. So it's just pushing them, slowly and gently out of their comfort zone to the day that they're like, yep, I went out yesterday. I went out to dinner. Then I went and got my hair done, got my nails done, went to the mall shopping. And it was like, and who did you go with? What do you
that's
mean? I went by myself. Yes, there we go. And things like that. I've been working on, I really want to get out of this job. Today
yeah.
I sent out 5 resumes and I have 2 interviews next week, different things like that. So it's just making sure that the reason they came to me in the first place, that we're working towards those goals
Mm.
and building healthy objectives to be able to, achieve to get to their end result.
Wow, man, that's so good. I mean, so good. See, listen, sometimes I feel like sometimes we think we can do a lot of things ourselves, but you know what? It's always good to have an accountability partner to check in on you and make sure that you are moving. I just think
Yes,
so many times, so many of us stay stagnant and we don't realize it, like you said, Dr. Marianne, until it's kind of too late. It's never too, let's be clear, as long as you
yeah,
breathe, it's never too late, but until you wasted a lot of time.
correct.
Okay, looking back on your coaching career and where you started and where you are now, what is one of the most rewarding aspects of working with women and unlocking their full potential?
It's just seeing women be free, living life on their terms, setting goals, but not just any goals, setting goals that they know they can achieve that are going to level them up mentally, physically, financially, and
Mm,
just seeing that glimmer and just seeing that shine and that brightness in their eyes, seeing that life being reignited back in their life.
yeah. Ugh, okay. All right. Dr. Marianne, I want you to leave our listeners with something based on unlocking your full potential, based on everything that we spoke about today. Give our listeners something to hold on, take a little soundbite from this conversation and take it with them throughout the week.
So I'm going to give you a bonus. I'm going to give you two things. Number one, do that exercise that we talked about. Write out your perfect day from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. What does your perfect day look like? Be explicit, be vivid. Talk about the sounds, the smells, the colors, the taste. Write everything down and save it. You don't have to share it with anyone, just save it and revisit that often. And number two, remember that you are a priority. You, your goals, your passions, your desire, they all matter. So
Mm.
start slowly working towards those things.
Mm, that's so good. I'm gonna do that. I'm going to do that. Let's let's be very clear on that. Dr. Marianne, I love our conversation and I feel like I can talk to you forever. This is probably why in your sessions, how long are your sessions? An hour? How much
Yes,
time do we get when we book with you?
about an hour.
Hour. Okay, that sounds
Yes.
good. See, look, she's saying I can't be here all day. But this is good because she's gonna give you homework, ladies. I love
Yes.
it. I want to thank you so much for coming and pouring at this well. I hope that all women that were listening, I hope that you're able to take something from it, take it and do something with it. Start somewhere. Start with these exercises. Dr. Marion gave us exercises and she gave us even an extra bonus by if we just snap a picture of ourselves eating alone and email it to her. The first 3 people will get a signed copy of her book. Thank you. Thank you for that
Welcome.
gift for us. And I believe that a lot of us can take this episode and really evolve from it, or at least start your journey and of evolving and unlocking your fullest potential. So thank you, Dr. Marianne, for coming pouring today. Really appreciate you. Can you tell us where to find you, where to book you, where to find your books, how we can follow you?
Yeah, so on Facebook, it's MRD Empowerment Solutions. On
Mhm.
Instagram, it's Maryann Rivera-Dannert. And my website is maryannrivera-dannert.com. And there's tabs on there to get to the podcast, to the magazine, to the books, and to the coaching and everything else.
Yes. Okay. And I will put that all in the description below. Ladies, I want to thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Woman Witness podcast of Stories at the Well. I ask that you take this episode, you share it with a friend, you follow us on all social medias, like and subscribe. And just perhaps, just maybe perhaps you are chosen for such a time as this to write, to tell your story, your truth. Until next time.